Hi there, it is Jo from Minerva, and today we're going to look at a hem finishing technique, which is using a ribbon. A ribbon edged hem has a beautiful look on the inside. So if you've got a skirt where when you sit down you see the inside, you get a really nice finish. You can mix that up with different coloured ribbons, so you can have something decorative just on the inside, which makes your garment have a real couture look when you just catch a little peek of it. A ribbon edge hem is a great idea if you've got a skirt that you're running pretty short on the hem length. You can just turn up a tiny bit of your garment and then add the ribbon edged hem. There's a little bit of preparation involved, especially if you've got a skirt with a curved edge, because you'll be needing to make sure that you ease in the curve of the extra fabric around the hem, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, the first one we're going to look at is using an organza ribbon, so a ribbon that is sheer, and we're going to use it on a sheer fabric, and we're going to use it to hem so that we get a really light ethereal hem, and this is how it works. This is a beaded tulle hem. I've been using it for a few different demos, so this is an applique seam, but imagine that this is maybe a sleeve. And we don't want to turn the tulle so that we get a thick edge, a thick colour along the bottom. We just want it to look like it's seamless and it's just cut off. So I've removed the beads that are along that edge, and we're going to put this organza on this hem, and then when we turn it up we should just have a really light colour. You can use a colour that's a better match than this, but I'm trying to use something a bit of a contrast so that you can see what I'm doing. If it was a good peachy match, then it would be difficult to see. The first thing you need to do is to turn up a very small hem allowance. Because we don't want very much of the tulle to be double. And give this a press. Because this is a tulle with beads, then I'm going to use a press cloth, and these are glass head pins so that they don't melt, and I'm going to give that a press so that that stays in place, and then we can put the ribbon on top. So I've pressed it up, pressed the seam open. Now ordinarily you would turn that up again, but you would get this thicker edge and you'd get more saturation of the tulle colour. So to try and keep it as light as possible, you're going to pin on a piece of ribbon so that it sits just under the turned hem, so you can't see it from the right side. And then you can take a stitch line. Now you can do this by hand, so if you want it to be completely invisible, you can sew that ribbon down both sides with a invisible thread, hand stitch, quite a couture method, or you can take one stitch line along nearest the hem. It depends how much your fabric's going to fray, so you've got to choose how much you sew depending on the fabric that you're using, but it's just a way to show you a little technique to experiment with. I'm going to sew 2 rows of stitching so that I get 2 lines. I'm going to use a sewing machine just because it's quick, but if I was making this for a wedding dress or a prom dress, then I would hand sew that, and then you would get a really, really light finish around the hem. It also strengthens it as well, because tulle isn't that strong, but if you've put a piece of ribbon on there, you will have sort of stitched that length. It will become really strong and it won't stretch out. You can also do this technique on a hem. So here's the hem. Imagine it's a sleeve hem. But again, I'm just showing you the beginnings of this technique. You could do it in all sorts of different ways. You could, if you had a plain tulle, you could put a decorative stitch along there using a silky thread. All these things you would be doing at the test stage of when you made something. So you could put an organza ribbon behind and put a silky stitch, decorative stitch on top. You can also put your ribbon along the right side and then fold it back. Depends how much of this fabric and how dark it looks when you fold it. Just makes it. Now that feels really, really strong. I feel like I could really pull that, whereas if the tulle has got a little bit of stretch or give in it, then you might get a stretched out sleeve. So that is how you sew a sheer ribbon edged hem. You can also use a wired ribbon, and that will give you a sort of a texture. So if you have a really wide hem, you can put a wired organza ribbon on and then sew it on, and then you'll be able to change the structure of your hem, and that's quite advanced, but it's something you might want to play around with. If you have a garment that isn't made of sheer fabric, but you want to have a really nice couture finish on the inside because it's a wedding outfit or a special suit or for a special event, then you can also try a different style of ribbon edged hem using a decorative ribbon. Now, I've just got a satin ribbon, but you could have a pattern ribbon. It works particularly well on a full skirt or a circle skirt where you turn up the hem and then inside is a row of ribbon. So let me show you how to apply that. To sew, you're going to sew close to the edge of the raw edge and the ribbon, so that when you flip it over, you can then hand sew, and I'll show you how to deal with this rippling here on the curve. When you've sewn it on, I haven't got mine quite as close as I would if I was making a garment. I need it to be a little bit closer, but I'm just showing you the technique. And then you're going to flip it to the wrong side, press it and turn up the hem. So you'll be turning up a very small hem. You'll have hardly used any of your fabric. And then your hemline will be a curved hem with no finish showing, and you will have this ribbon edge running along. Now, we can't just turn this up, we're going to end up with some sort of ripples here. So I'm going to put a hand stitch through here, a basting thread, and then I can pull it up and take in some of that ease there. Okay, now that I've got that pressed up so everything's heading in the right direction, I can use this stitch here that I've just put in to just gather up very gently the outer edge of the curve. Just keep pulling that thread a little bit. So now I've got my curve gently moving on my hem, and I have this beautiful ribbon finish, and I've hardly used any of my fabric. So it's great if you've made a dress and it's a little bit too short if you take the full seam allowance. But if you use this technique, then you can just take a tiny little bit of fabric, it takes about 1 centimetre, half a centimetre on your seam allowance seam line, and half a centimetre to turn it under. You could make it even smaller if you were really desperate to get a little bit of length. So you can continue that along the rest of your curved hem, and you can see here where I haven't done any of the finishing techniques, it's not lying very well at all, but where I've pressed and added the easing stitch, I've got it really, really smooth. Again, it's your personal preference and choice of finish, so you can top stitch this on the machine and you will get a stitch line all the way around the hem of your skirt or sleeve, or you can just do a slip stitch or whip stitch where you just catch a couple of threads and the ribbon, and it will all be invisible from the right side. Do head over to Minerva to check out some products that you could use for this technique, and also take a look at the inspirational makes from all of our Minerva makers and customers. You can share your makes, so make an account with us. You can take a photo, just be yourself. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't have to be a model-worthy shot. We'd love to see what you have been making. Post it up on Minerva and we can all take a look, and you'll get a lot of support and love from the sewing community. I hope you like those finishes, and just to switch your sewing up, you might try one of those pretty soon if you're making a skirt or a dress. Thank you very much for watching. Do call again soon.